If you clicked on this video, that means you probably agree with me that gas cans suck. Today, I want to share a gas can hack that someone taught me 8 years ago, and I fell in love with it immediately, and I've never gone back. This hack will work whether you're just working with yard equipment, maybe some small engines, or maybe you have something like a side-by-side, all the way up to a fleet of equipment. If you've been thinking about buying a slip tank with a pump on it and you're kind of on the fence, you might want to wait and watch this video first. So I get it that a lot of these things that we're gassing up are moving toward electricity, but not everything. So gas is still, unfortunately, a part of daily life for the vast majority of us, which is why this is such an important thing to get right. What's funny is we've tried all kinds of different valve stems and filler necks and this kind and that kind. We even tried a different one over here. It's got like a cap on it. And I know there's a bunch of other variations out there. And let's see, says something about leak proof on here, or spill proof. Yeah, every single gas can I've ever owned spills and leaks. 100%. Part of the problem is like fatigue. In the case of these large cans, they're 5 gallons and you have to sit there forever while this ridiculous EPA approved filler neck gurgles and burgles and some fuel comes out. This one is super maddening because somebody had the bright idea that the fuel should come out the side. So it doesn't come out the front. It actually is like putting a spoon in a garden hose, and this thing shoots fuel everywhere. I mean, it's just like horrifyingly bad design. So I thought, well, if nothing else, we could at least reduce the fatigue. And we bought these little vent plugs that at least allow the thing to breathe. And so you don't have to stand here for 5 hours and spill gas forever. You can just kind of get with it. And that was an improvement, but clearly we're still dealing with this ridiculous technology. Oh, here it is. I found it. Spill proof system. Am I reading that correctly? Because I'm pretty sure the very first thing that happens with these stupid filler necks is they spill and leak everywhere. Of course, when you have a problem like this, you're always on the hunt for a solution. And so whenever you're in the farm and ranch store or somewhere where there's gas cans, you're always kind of looking like, oh, what's that person's solution to this perpetual problem? And I've seen things with push button valves, you know, and the valve is on the bottom, so you push so the fuel comes out the bottom. I've seen things that have like a flippy lid here that flips the lid up and you kind of pour it. And so far, I have found that every single gas can has one thing in common: they suck. It just so happens that we actually have a fleet of our own equipment, and because of that, fuel has become a way of life. In fact, for a while we were calling it home building cologne, because it just feels like you're always putting fuel in something, whether it's the excavator or the sawmill or the backhoe. And so this process got to be particularly annoying. So I'm super glad when a friend sent me a really cool tool. These little guys are small fuel pumps. They're called a stick pump, or a handheld stick pump. And what they do is the stick part here goes in the gas can, and then of course the filler hose goes where you're trying to put fuel. And they have sort of a siphoning effect, but they also have a fairly decent little pump included with them that moves fuel along at a pretty good pace. So this friend found this pump for me at a farm and ranch store. It was about $20, and it looks like kind of a cheap piece of junk. But somehow this little pump is still pumping after 7 years. This model has a couple of D-cell batteries hidden here in the handle that operate it. And I like the pump except for that one small detail, these big old honking batteries that I don't really use for anything else. I do like the pump, and I like the power that these big batteries provide. I just don't want to deal with these batteries. Obviously, the benefit of the bigger battery is more power and a longer runtime. So insert this little discovery. It's the same exact concept, except you can see there's a much smaller battery compartment that houses 2 AA batteries. So you don't have as much runtime, but everybody's got a pair of AA batteries, better yet rechargeables, laying around. So it's very easy to keep this thing running instead of having to dig up or go to the grocery store to find batteries. If a little of a good idea is good, more of a good idea should be better, right? So check this out. Here's a little pump that's battery powered, and it actually is like the cap or the lid of the fuel can. It has the same hose attachment, so this is starting to act more like a gas pump, right? It's kind of a nice little holder there for it. Secures the spigot there so it doesn't fall in the dirt. The problem I found though is that you have to move this between cans. And so this is not, it's a good design, but in the end, I find I don't use it because it's really annoying. So it's got this little hose that runs down in there. And then as soon as you take it out, guess what? You're back into the whole fuel spill leak thing. So I just personally found that I don't use this one as much. Also, it uses 4 batteries instead of 2. So it's just more work overall. I think the idea is good, but for whatever reason, I'll just be honest with you, I don't use it. As you can see, it has no batteries in it and it's all kind of faded. The other thing about these is that you can use them across multiple fuel types. So for our equipment, we have off-road diesel, we have some on-road diesel, and we have non-ethanol fuel, and we have ethanol fuel. So we got a lot of different things that we're trying to use in different devices. Because this pump is interchangeable, or independent, it's not something that's part of the fuel can, like in this situation. If I had to move this between fuel types, it would be annoying to have to purge it and clean it and all this. But because these are not part of the can, it's very easy to move them from fuel type to fuel type and keep them clean. I've recently seen some kind of push style quick fueling cans, and I think the problem is the same that you always have. If it's warm at all, these cans are under pressure. And so if you can't relieve that pressure somehow, it doesn't matter how precise whatever mechanism you have is, it's going to probably put out more fuel than whatever you're trying to fuel, and it's just going to make a big mess. That's exceptionally true in the case of a small engine like this, where the total capacity might be a pint of fuel. Even on something as small as this lawnmower, these pumps are precise enough that they don't leak and they don't spill. This process is so simple, you can go away essentially and get something else done while your equipment or your tool, depending on what it is fueling up. You don't have to stand there and just be a slave to the gas can. So let's give this thing a quick try here. I need to top up this mower. Oh yeah, she's running low on fuel. There's all that built up pressure. So if you try to fill that up, it's just gonna make gas and air and splatter and go everywhere, right? You're gonna get a bath of fuel. Make sure there's no grass or anything on there. Looks really good. And this actually has a little clip, so if you want to walk away, you could. Obviously in this small tank, we would not do that. So we've not leaked any fuel yet. We're still going. This fuel can's a little low, so we're gonna have to pump. All right, we haven't spilled any fuel yet. No leaking and no spilling. All right, we could go a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more. Oh, no spilling and no leaking. How about that? And because of the stick design, it actually siphons back into the can versus spewing down the hose because it's lifting out of that stick. When you turn the pump off, it tends to suck the fuel backwards out of the hose instead of overflowing whatever you're fueling up. Whether that's intentional part of the design or not, it's brilliant. And there you go, we fueled up this. So then you can very carefully remove this from the can. And there you go, no spill and no leaks. All right, you might be thinking, yeah, but isn't that pump pretty slow? I mean, those are pretty small batteries. So let's say you're gonna fill up your UTV. You're out recreating, or maybe you're working on the farm and you need to fill this up. There is a quick tip I'll try to remember to share later that can speed this process up. But let's do a timed run. So we have a full 5-gallon can, and let's see how long it actually takes to fill up this UTV or empty this 5-gallon can. Still no leaks, still no spills. So this one, we can just hook it on here. Gas can stays on the ground. All right, here we go. In my experience, this process is actually faster than trying to use these ridiculous spouts, partially because I think they're designed to gurgle through the fuel, which I think is some sort of like vapor recovery theory. And so this obviously doesn't have that problem. It's 100% flow. I guess while this is working, I'll share with you a quick tip. So this is obviously pump, but when you help it with some gravity, we can actually speed that process up. I won't cheat, but if we were to lift this can up and hold it either at the height of the filler neck or set it on something like a bucket or the bed of the vehicle or something, then you have gravity working for you and it will speed this process up by over double. One of the things I love about this process is that you don't have to stand here and hold this fuel can. You'll also notice that because you're not holding the can, you can't get gasoline all over you. And I don't care whether you're out working or recreating, just being covered in gasoline all day is enough to give you a headache. It's not so much that you don't want to be dirty, it's that it's just the fumes are noxious, especially if you're in a vehicle or something like that. All right, we just hit the bottom and we are at 5 minutes flat. In my experience, that's the same amount of time or less that it would take you to stand here and wait on one of these low emission filler necks. So once again, we've got this filler hose, no problem, no drips, no leaks, and carefully remove this from the jug. In the case of diesel, it helps to have a rag or something laying around just to grab the end of the pump. It definitely is thicker and so it doesn't evaporate as quickly, but with gasoline, it evaporates so fast that simply removing the pump, there's nothing there. Isn't that insanely easy? We've been doing it this way with every single piece of equipment we own for 7 years and 0 regrets. This model of pump, you'll see this little white wire running down the tube. It has a sensor here in the end, which is supposed to turn the pump off once it senses liquid. I'm not sure I would trust that, okay? Like, this is not like a high-end fuel pump, and so I just wouldn't let gasoline dump all over the ground because it's just gonna keep pumping if that thing doesn't work properly. That said, I think it's a smart attempt at the use of technology. In my experience, we have probably pumped over 25 gallons on a set of batteries. Maybe even more than that. Of course, at some point the pump starts to slow down a little bit, and if you're using rechargeables, it's no problem to throw fresh batteries in there. I don't remember if the D-cell works as well. We haven't used it as much since we found the AA version just because it's so lightweight and so easy to use. But I think you're going to see that the battery life is amazing and it's incredible. Those 2 little batteries can pump all that fuel. Of course, these little pumps aren't going to do everything, like we don't use them to fuel our chainsaws because it's just such a small amount of fuel. So we get to enjoy the spilling fuel thing with those and other small tools like that. But I find that we use these pumps all the time. And these pumps work well enough that we've stuck with gas cans and these small pumps instead of investing in a larger slip tank and some other pumping system. I hope you'll give this a try. It's pretty amazing. If you're careful, no leaks, no spills, as advertised. So where can you grab one of these little tools? I have found them at the local farm and ranch stores. So if you want to buy something somewhat local, you can check there. But of course, you can buy them on the internet. Expect to pay about $20. But you have to do me one favor. If you have a friend who would use one of these, you have to buy them one too.